this is my biggest mistake. I don't care what you have to say. If you're like, oh, well, I really don't know. Oh, you never checked this video. Okay, this video we're definitely going to look at different concepts, right? First of all, we're going to look at the society concept, right? Just to kind of take a man, but we all need to understand what a man is, because we lead society, we lead the household. We have to make sure not only do we lead the household, that we are responsible for making sure that everybody understands what we're supposed to do, right? Because it's not easy to be in such a position as being a man. It's not. That means that you have to, everybody's looking at you. It doesn't matter if it's your wife, your kids, society, everybody looks up to you. You have to make sure that you're doing the right thing. But we don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? We don't have, us as black men especially, we don't have a lot of people to look up to. We don't have a lot of people that we can call a friend who's really good at doing. So again, in this video, we're just going to talk about those different things. So, let me double check on the chat. Let me make sure y'all good. Everything good? Alright. Check this out. Alright, cool. This is definitely just my cool. We're gonna get right into this. Let's go ahead and get right into it. We got a little video here. I love this pastor right here. He gives really, really good insights and good words. So let's go ahead and listen.
Well, good morning. Praise God for another day and another opportunity to worship Him. If you have your Bibles with you this morning, we will open up to where we left off on last night in the book of Ephesians. We're going to look today at Ephesians chapter 5 and chapter 6. Today we address the issue of a man's leadership in his home, his leadership of his family. This is a crucial topic, for in fact, a man's leadership in his home is pivotal not only to the church, but also to the state. It was Manton who said that the home is the seminary of both the church and the state. The home is the place where leaders for the church are forged. In fact, a man is to be examined for leadership in the church by first looking at his track record of leadership in his home. It is a man's leadership in his family that is foundational to determining whether or not he is even qualified for leadership among God's people. This is crucial. It is also the home that is the place where citizens are forged for the state. The state has no charge, no responsibility, or no jurisdiction over children, informing them as future citizens. It is the home that is charged with this duty, with this responsibility.
I forgot my pink light.
It is the home that forges the character of future leaders in the state, where we learn to follow and where we learn to lead. So it is absolutely critical that we look here in Ephesians chapter 5 and 6 and see what it actually means for a man to lead in his home. First, listen to this from James Alexander, speaking about the issue of a man and his leadership in his home. He is their head. He is such by a divine and unalterable constitution. These are duties and prerogatives which he cannot alienate. There is something more than mere precedence in age, knowledge, or substance. He is the Father and the Master. No act of his and nothing in his character can fail to leave a mark on those around him. A man is the head, master, and leader of his home. And there's nothing he can do about that. He will either lead effectively or he will lead poorly, but he will lead. A man.
Hold on. Let me go to that real quick. Now, whether you're ready for it or not, whether you know it or not, whether you want it or not, you are the head of your household. Many people look up to you. I don't care what anybody has to say. Oh, no man is in charge of me. Oh, I don't care. I don't worry about nobody else but myself. I'm not even in a relationship, right? I don't have to worry about being a man. I have to worry about being a husband. I'm not going to be a husband. You got to understand this. It doesn't matter what role that you're in. It's already been given to you by God. You have to be ready. You have to be able to look into these different things, right? Now, this is a very, very, very heavy burden to be a man. It is. I'm not saying that women don't have, different burdens on themselves. But when it comes to a man, we are the head of the household. A lot of people look up to us. If something pops off, they look into a man. That's just how it is. Nobody's going to be looking to, such and such, and action is going off. Instinctively, we want to protect. As soon as listen, men, when you're out with your girlfriend, this only y'all can understand this. Scanning the situation, looking around, you seeing who's in the room, you seeing what's going on, you seeing who's walking behind and in front. You're constantly evaluating. Nobody's ever really taught you this, but it's just instinctively in us. Men, we also want to be providers. Instinctively, we love to provide for our women. That's why we love to take them out, right? That's why we love to allow them to feel things. That's why we allow them to be in our lives itself. It's not easy to be a boyfriend. It's not easy to be a husband, and it's not easy to protect or provide, but God has instilled that into us. First of all, it's inside of us, number one. Number two, he's instilled it into society, so they expect it out of us. So hold on, we're gonna let this one cook. Let me stop playing. We're gonna let him play. Let me go send it back though.
Man's failing to lead is actually a man leading in failure. This is not optional. There are, however, objections to the idea of a man leading in his home. There are those objections, of course, that we would not be surprised by in the culture at large. We know that the feminist movement has huge problems with what I've just said. The idea that the man is the head of his household, that the man is the leader in his family. Ari Hoykeman, a leader in the United Nations Population Fund, has in fact referred to the breakdown in the family in the West as a triumph. It's a good thing, he argues. Why? Why would a man say something like this? Ari Hoykeman actually argues that high divorce rates, high out-of-wedlock birth rates actually signal a triumph of human rights over patriarchy. In other words, male headship in the home is oppressive, and divorce and out-of-wedlock birth rates represent liberation from that oppression. Again, it's almost unfathomable that anyone would say such a thing, let alone a leader of the United Nations. But if you're troubled by that, you don't know much about the United Nations. All right. I said that out loud, didn't I? Okay, my bad. Other radical feminists feel the same way. Linda Gordon, for example. Listen to this statement. The nuclear family must be destroyed, and people must find better ways of living together. Whatever its ultimate meaning, the breakup of families now is an objectively revolutionary process. No woman should have to deny herself any opportunities because of her special responsibilities to her children. Families will be finally destroyed only when a revolutionary social and economic organization permits people's needs for love and security to be met in ways that do not impose divisions of labor or any external roles at all. That's radical. But wait, there's more. Andrea Dworkin. Under patriarchy, no woman is safe to live her life or to love or to mother children. Under patriarchy or male headship, every woman is a victim, past, present, and future. Under patriarchy, every woman's son is her potential betrayer and also the inevitable rapist or exploiter of another woman. That's our cultural context. But you say, yeah, but that's out there. Certainly, that's the radical feminist, people who don't even claim to know God. But there are also objections in here. Evangelical feminism, as it is euphemistically called, has objections to the idea of male leadership and male headship in the home. There are three basic objections, and we have to deal with these before we move forward with this text here in Ephesians chapter 5. And the reason that we have to deal with these is quite simple, because they have gained much headway in the church. And there are many in the church, even in churches that you would consider, run-of-the-mill conservative evangelical churches. Some of these ideas have crept in and have become assumed. For many of you as students, you assume some or all of this about the idea of male headship, that somehow it's an archaic concept, that somehow it's anachronistic for us to talk about men as heads of their household and to look at passages like Ephesians chapter 5 in that context. Three main arguments. I'll give them to you and then we'll address them in turn.
Real quickly, this is not about really the video. Right here, I literally thought that there was like no head on that body at all. But here's the thing. When it comes to understanding that a man is the head of the household, it may bite a lot of people, right? Women may not like that idea because, again, I don't want no daddy. I don't want nobody telling me what to do. I'm a grown woman. And I definitely understand that, right? A good man is not going to want to suppress you. Again, I'm going to... Y'all have to listen to me. First of all, I'm talking to the men, but I know that y'all are here. I haven't even checked the chat. Un momento, lo siento. What's up with y'all? What's up? Let me check on y'all real quick. Okay. We have to understand this, right? I get that it may seem a little bit daunting to have a man be the head of the household, but you have to understand that a good man is going to want better for you, right? There are horrible men out there. First of all, those are little boys. There are horrible people out there who want to take control of you. There's horrible people out there who want to use you for being a woman. And that does happen way too much, far too often. I can't really speak for those kind of people because I'm not one of those people. But do not let that hurt shroud the glory that comes behind a man, a woman, and a child inside of the household. There are things that a woman can do that a man can't do. That's a factamundo. I can't deny that, and I won't deny that, right? We are the same in essence. You're a human being created in God. I'm a human being created in God. It doesn't matter what I have, what I own, what I lose. We are all equal in essence, but we are not equal in role. There's nothing wrong with me saying that a woman can do things that I can't. But then when I say it, a man can do things that a woman can't. What's wrong with that? There should be nothing wrong with that. There is certain things that I can naturally pick up that are heavier. That's okay to say. There are certain things that you can just feel as a woman inside of a situation, inside of a room, that I don't know. I don't feel nothing. That's just how it is. That's just how we're crafted. It's okay to be different. Our differences is what fills in the spaces in society. Gummy bears. Our differences is what fills in the spaces, right? We cannot have two different people who are just stone cold. A lot of times men just want to get directly to the answer. That's just how we are. If you ever hear a man just say, okay, yep, I heard that. Get to the point. We're not being rude. I promise you. We're just trying to get to the resolution. A lot of times men are very focused on what Okay, we're gonna get through this conversation versus the details and all the shrouding, right? But sometimes you need all of that. You need to understand why it happened, right? But you don't want to stay in a cloud, because then you'll never get to a resolution. It's a very happy medium of both the two. You have to understand that. So let me get back to this. Hold on. He really cooking. And we ain't even get into the book. We ain't get to the Bible yet. Oh yeah, this is factual.
1, the culture. 2, the curse. And 3, the confusion. Those are the 3 arguments. The first argument is the culture. That Paul's admonition to male headship in Ephesians chapter 5, and they have to deal with Ephesians chapter 5, by the way. There's just no way around it. You cannot assault this idea of male headship in the home without somehow dealing with Ephesians chapter 5. So evangelical feminism deals with Ephesians chapter 5, and the first line of argumentation is, this is cultural. That Paul here in Ephesians chapter 5 is merely making a cultural statement because of circumstances on the ground, as it were. Now, the problem with this argument is that the Bible teaches male headship in the home in a number of places. Okay. Not only Ephesians 5,
let me get my Ephesians
but
5
also
out.
Colossians 3,
I feel bad,
and 1 Peter 3, as well as Titus 2 and 5. All of these places we see men called to lead as heads of their household, and women called to submit to the leadership of their husbands. But more importantly and more foundational to this is the teaching in Genesis chapters 1 through 3, which solidify the idea of male headship.
Come on now.
So there is no way that what Paul teaches in Ephesians chapter 5 is merely some cultural accommodation that calls for male headship in this particular setting and circumstance, and does not see male headship as the norm. This, for example, does not take into consideration Paul's teaching in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, where he says the head of the woman is the man, the head of every man is Christ, and the head of Christ is God. Mm-hmm. We also see in 1 Timothy chapter 2 that Paul roots male headship in the creation order. Not only do we see that argument, but also the argument of the curse. That actually what we're dealing with here is male headship as a result of the curse. In Genesis chapter 3 and verse 16, when God looks at Eve, or looks at the woman,
I'm still trying to find
before
Ephesians.
she was named Eve, and says that because of what she's done, the consequence will be that her desire will be for her husband, but he will rule over you. That's the idea. That when God says that in Genesis chapter 3 and verse 16, you have male headship established as a byproduct of the curse. Listen to this.
Hold on. We got to talk about that. Some of y'all missed that. You know, I'm still looking for Ephesians. I don't know why I can't. Ephesians start with an E, right? Don't worry, I'm new just like y'all. I'm new to, hold on, Ephesians, I literally just found it, 1561. Male headship was established after the fall, right? Due to the fall, God had to say, listen, Adam, you're in charge. Here you go. We need you to be the head of the household, and the woman's not going to always like it. I mean, it's a lot of times, again, if you are a godly man, I'm not saying that all these other men out here, if you're inside of a marriage and this is not a godly man, first of all, the best part is, if you want to know how your man should be treating you right, it's here. It's not an argument. You don't have to win an argument. You don't have to, the Bible is right here. First of all, if your relationship is not based on the Bible, you guys have no strong foundation, and any storm is going to sweep you away. That's why you've been in 4 or 5 marriages. That's why you've been in 6 or 7 relationships in the past year. I'm not coming for you, because again, I've been in some rough times myself. And that's because I did not lay a strong foundation. I'm happy to be in a relationship where I can definitely look to the Bible and say, you know what, this is what it says. And they do the same thing to me, and it checks your attitude. We all have a strong foundation. We all have a rule set that we follow by, and that's okay. That's good. That's healthy. If you're over here trying to come up with, oh, this is why you're wrong, and it's not based on anything, those are just pure emotions and speculations. Yes, there are, your emotions can be true, your opinion can be true. But what is the truth? Oh, come on now, stop playing. Is the word of God. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why I just got hyped. But what I'm saying is, it's just, it's been established since the beginning. It was established. So why are we trying to switch it up now? Why are we trying to say, oh, I'm above him, I don't need him, he don't give to me? He probably don't give to you. The ones that you're looking for, the man that the boy that you're looking for probably don't give to you. And I'm gonna keep it a beam with you. There's too many of us wasting our time with these jokers out here, with these clowns out here that's not doing nothing for you. Oh, we about to get to another discussion. Hold on. Let me get to the verse first, because we about to talk about clowns. 1561. That's what I said. That's that memory. Memory go. MEMORE. MEMORIS. 1516. 1561. Stop playing with me. Okay, here we go. I wasn't playing with you. I already started highlighting inside of the book. I didn't even know. Okay, chapter 5. He said chapter 5. We're gonna go directly there. Hold on, I forget about the topic now. All right, we talk about jokers and clowns. We talk about jokers and clowns. Hold on, let me double check the chat real quick, because we about to get into a little spiel here. Let me double check. The biggest thing here is this. There's a lot of deception. There's a lot of deception going on in today's society. There's a lot of people trying to act like a man. And there's a lot of people who believe it. That's the worst part about it. Y'all is like, oh, if he got money, oh, if he got an apartment, oh, if I got an apartment, oh, I got my own. First of all, if you have your own, that means that you are a functioning adult. There's nothing special about you. Just because a man has a car and an apartment, just because he's paying his bills, just because he knows how to wash his face, a lot of men don't. It's called cleanser, exfoliator, toner, right? Make sure you use the right medication afterwards based on your face type, right? If he knows how to do those basic things, he's a basic man. If you have your own place, your car, you are a basic woman. And that's okay to say, because there's not a lot of people who are basic, who's on that standard level. I'm tired of dropping the bar for these folks, for these little boys out here. Oh, he got a car, so he top tier. No, he's not. Hit my chin. No, he's not. Y'all gotta stop playing. You keep on saying, again, I'm not coming for you, but listen, y'all keep on saying I keep on finding crappy men. There's so many crappy men out here, and that's not what y'all really be saying, but we gonna put a Kids Bop twist to it. I keep on finding these horrible men out here who can't provide for me, who ain't doing nothing. Y'all not nothing. Y'all not shish. Stop playing, bro. Okay, if that's the case, if we're not, let's just say that all of us aren't, why are you accepting us? You're mad at the man that you accepted into your life. You're mad at the man that you're giving time to. If bummy men weren't given as much time and opportunity as they're given now, I promise you there wouldn't be as many bummy men. I'm gonna keep it a bean and $1.50 with you, okay? It's a lot easier, again, flesh wise, not in spirit. I'm talking about the flesh here, right? It's a lot easier to not have a job, to be abusive, to not be committed. It's a lot easier just to be swiping up and down on people. It's a lot easier to have multiple options, but that's not what we need, right? And the reason being it's still going on is because it's still allowed. I'm gonna keep it actuality with you. That doesn't mean that we're right for doing it. That doesn't mean anybody's right for treating anybody wrong. But if you continue to let wrong be okay, it's gonna stick around. You're wondering why you're in a bad relationship. You're wondering why you're being mentally abused by this woman, but you keep on letting her do it. You're not standing up for yourself. You're allowing her to curse you out in public. You're allowing her to do this, that, and the third. You're allowing him to hit you. Again, I know these kind of situations, they can be hard to get out of. I'm not saying that it's easy, but we need to take a stand and say, I'm done. It's too many of us playing around with that done word. I'm done, but then I'm back in his DMs the next day. Baby, I miss you. Stop. Oh my goodness. All right, this is a whole other topic. Let me look. We gonna keep it poking. Hey, Pebs. Pebs. Hello, Pebs. How are you doing? Thank you so much. You're amazing, Pebs. All right, we're gonna keep. Oh, not that screen. We're gonna keep it moving. Thank you so much, Pebs.
Her curse now was to be ruled perversely, to long for her husband and he to rule over her. She would want to be dominated by her husband, and he would submit to this desire. God does not command Adam to rule or govern his wife. Rather, the curse is Eve's. The ruling is a consequence of Eve's longing and her fall. That's the argument from evangelical feminism, that this is a product of the fall. Now, there are a couple of problems with this. If this is a product of the fall, my first question is, why do we find in Ephesians 5, in Colossians 3, in Titus 2, this same allusion to male headship, referring to people who are in Christ, who have been redeemed from the curse, if it's just a product of the fall? Here's my second question to those who would argue that male headship is a product of the fall. My second question is this: have you been in the delivery room with a Christian woman giving birth? You go, what does that have to do with anything? Well, okay, think about this. Male headship is a product of the fall. Therefore, when we are in Christ, that curse is removed and we no longer have male headship. But God also said to Eve, there would be much pain in her childbearing. So if, logically, becoming a Christian removes the curse, there ought to be screaming in the delivery room of non-believers and peace and calm in the delivery room of believers. I know better. I was there. I have heard the famous, "You did this to me." I have watched the woman whom I love with every fiber of my being turn into a creature who looked at me with eyes that said, "If you come too close, I will kill you." Now wipe my forehead. The other problem here is that we see male headship before the fall. We see male headship, for example, in Genesis chapter 2. The woman was made after the man, male headship. The woman was made for the man. I will make him a helper suitable for him, male headship. The woman was made from the man, male headship. The woman was brought to the man, male headship. And the woman was named by the man, male headship. And if that's not enough for you, all you have to do is go later on in chapter 3 when Adam receives his curse and God says, "Because you have listened to the voice of your wife."
Ooh. Y'all missed that. Stop playing. Again, at this point, you have to understand that if you claim to be a Christian, you have to believe in the roles and hierarchies that come within the family. Again, same in essence, different in role, right? Again, man was created before woman. Woman was created for man. Woman was created from man. and woman was presented to man by God, right? And then men have a headship too, right? Again, like he said, you will be punished for listening to your wife, right? The thing is that yes, of course we have to come to a consensus. We have to have conversation. We have to come to equal grounds. But I go to God for my answers. God is my headship. A good man, again, a good godly man who's following after the Bible as much as he possibly can, who wants to lead you into the right direction. He wants to give to your life so that you can prosper and then be able to give more back to him, right? You should be listening to him. That's okay to say. It's all right to submit. As a man, I have to submit. Me as a man, I have to understand that there are situations where my wife is in control, where she's in control. Me as a man, I have to understand in all situations, God's in control. All of us are submitting. I don't know why there's this thing and this consensus that a man can do whatever he wants. No, a true godly man, there's so many things inside the Bible that we are responsible for, that we have to uphold, that we have to take care of, right? In the Bible, we don't say misquotes. I want to find the exact verse. Hold on. We're gonna switch it up. A bad father. Is worse than a non-believer. Hold on, chat. Let me get back up with y'all. Hold on. First Timothy. Wait. Oh my goodness. I need to find abandoning their child. What does the Bible say about someone abandoning their child? 1 Timothy 5:8. But those who won't care for their relatives, especially those in their own household, have denied the true faith. Such people are worse than unbelievers. For those who own their household have denied the true faith. If you do not care for your children, men, there's a lot of deadbeat men out there. I need you to read 1 Timothy 5:8. If you are a man who has abandoned their child, you are worse than a non-believer. First of all, non-believers, you know where you're going. I'm here to help. I'm here to plant seeds. I'm letting God water them. That's all I'm here to do is plant seeds, right? But if you leave your son, if you leave your daughter in the woods, you're worse than a non-believer. You're worse than a person who disowns God. Oh no, you got something special for you. So when I have a child, I'm gonna take care of him. I'm not gonna neglect him. It's not just that. It says, but those who won't care for their relatives. Now, there's a lot of toxic moms, fathers, brothers, and sisters, but if you're not caring for them, you need to understand what care is. And that doesn't mean going back in their life every single day and allow them to be toxic to you. But if you don't care for your relatives, if you don't care for your kids, if you don't care for your wife, your husband, come on now, you're worse than a non-believer, because you're not exonerating God. You don't believe in the true faith. You don't believe in the truth. You claim to say that you're a Christian. Oh, I'm a Christian. But you constantly disrespecting your partner, sleeping around with other people behind their back. Oh, nobody's gonna see. Let me just get home real quick at 9 o'clock before she know. Come on, man. That's disgusting. You're a wreck. You're a mess. You're a bum. You're weak. I don't care about your physical stature. I don't care about you're weak, bro. I'm calling you out. You don't care about your child. You don't care about your mom, bro. Get out my face. You're weak. Hold on, let me calm down. Because too many people, y'all, we letting this stuff go by too much. There's too many men out here. There's too many little boys out here getting a free I'm a man pass. No, you not. What do you do? What are you actually doing? And I'm not talking about bills. I'm not talking about facial hair. I'm not talking about the gym. Get that out of my face. Honestly, get that out of my face. Because when it comes down to it, we all got a standard. Come on, we all got a standard whether you believe in the book or not. I don't care what you think. Whether you believe in the book or not, we all got a standard that we got to be upheld to. And how much is this man being upheld and listening and trusting and loving God. That's it. That's my measure of a man. And that should be yours too. That's it. Because I promise you, a good man is going to be somebody who's in this book 24/7. I'm talking about they more than in your face. They said, honey, could you come eat? Hold on now. I'm finishing Ephesians 5. He said, read, which I'm going to get into after this video. You need to find you here. Here's a secret sauce. I hope there's a woman here. There's going to be somebody listening to this. Tomorrow, years from now, somebody going to listen. I'm planting a seed right now. Women, if you want, you like, where the good men at? First of all, get out of the bad spaces. They didn't get it. They didn't get it. Women, if you want a good man, get out the bad spaces. Why are you looking for a man inside the club? You need to be looking for a man that is inside of the book. Inside of the, that was a nice little, that's inside of the Bible. He has standards. A lot of standards. First of all, not just standards of being a man or a husband or a father inside the household. He has standards of being a human being. There's a lot of us who don't have, there's a lot of y'all who don't have standards of being a human being. You don't have a value of life. So how can you have a value of your wife and your kids, your relatives? 1 Timothy 5:8. Boom, we're going to recognize that. I'm going to write that somewhere. We're going to start writing verses around this mug. And it's an apartment. Enemy isn't permanent. Anyways, find you a man who loves God more than you. If you want to have a good man, find a man who loves God more, who loves you. Stop it. Cut it out. Scrap the whole thing. If you want to find a good man, find a man who loves God more than you. Don't be selfish now, because God will say, bye-bye. Bye-bye. He's going, ooh, stop playing. Find you a man who's consistently trying to understand who he is and who God is. Because I promise you, you're going to find somebody who is very strong, independent, who wants to provide, not has to, he wants to, and not the type of provide that you think. Not a, what's it called? A Versace. I don't even know brands like that. Not a burlap sack. What is even a burlap sack? Anyways, he's not going to want to always provide you with the most materialistic things or the fanciest trip. A real man is not going to want to provide you with the fanciest food. A real man is going to want to give you knowledge. A lot of women out there saying, you know, oh, he just so annoying. He always trying to tell me something. Listen, a man's care a lot of times is him actually trying to tell you something. If you sit around with men a lot of times, yeah, we goof around. Don't get me wrong. Because a lot of times men can't feel like they can be themselves. Not because of you. Don't take it personally. A lot of times men feel like they can't be themselves because of the pressures of a relationship in society. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm spilling the secrets out here. I'm spilling the beans. My bad. They about to say, you traitor. A lot of men out here, we can't be ourselves in our relationship. That's when we get with the boys. We be doing some stupid stuff. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of times a man is going to give you advice. He's going to give you the truth. I want him to buy into my delusion. He's not going to, because we don't got time for all that. We're not going to be gossiping back and forth. We like to get to the solution a lot of times. Two godly men. Find a group of godly men who are very intellectual in the Bible and in themselves. Boy, listen, you got some trouble. You got some demons mad, stirred up. By the way, I wanted to say this too. I went to Walmart today. You know what I'm saying? I was looking for some groceries, you know, some face care stuff. And I saw this bunny. I was like, dang, why is there such a big bunny inside of this, you know, the bins that they be having in the middle? And I realized, oh, snap. Their Easter Sunday. Come on now. Say it right. Their Easter Sunday's coming around. I promise you, if there's any type of Easter bunny that comes up to me, I'm throwing holy water in its face, right in its eyes. I'm saying, fuck, fuck. It said, ah. I promise you, I'm throwing holy water right at it, because that is a demon. Oh, there y'all Christians go. You want to call anything a demon. Anything that takes away from the name of Jesus Christ is a demon. Demon inspired. Santa Claus, demon inspired. Fa fa. Anytime y'all hear fa fa, I'm throwing holy water right in both of their eyes. You are not going to catch me trying to find some Easter eggs or to find a candy. Only thing I'm trying to find is Christ. That's the only thing I'm looking for this year. I don't care about none of that. No. You can get candy 365 days out of the year. You can eat what you want. That's what the Bible says, as long as you're not confusing other believers. You know what I'm saying? I'm not who. Don't take away my Lord's glory. Don't take away the Come on now. Let me stop. Cause I really will throw some stuff in that man's face. Oh my God, thank you so much. Okay, we go do this. Thank you so much, Eddie. Okay. Let's get into it. We're gonna go back to the screen.
Because you did not exercise your headship. If that's not enough for you, just go to Romans chapter 5, where Paul doesn't say because of the sin of one couple, Adam and Eve, death entered the world. No, because of the sin of one man, Adam. Jesus is not referred to as the last Adam and Eve. He's referred to as the last Adam. Why? Male headship. So what's happening there in Genesis 3:16 with the curse? Well, I'm glad you asked. God says your desire will be for your husband, but he will rule over you. Now, unfortunately, our evangelical feminist author here completely misses the nuance of that text. She says that somehow the woman is going to be pining for her husband. If you just go to Genesis chapter 4 and verse 7, you see the identical phrase. God says to Cain in Genesis 4:7, sin is crouching at your door. Its desire is for you, but you must rule over it. God is not saying to Cain, sin is yearning and pining for you. Oh, it loves you. No. He is saying sin's desires to overtake you, and you must rule over it. See, the curse is not male headship. The curse is the woman's natural rebellion to the headship of the man. That's the curse. Your desire will be to usurp your husband's authority, and yet his authority will not be removed. And because of this desire, there should be a clash between you and your husband. But in this clash, creation order will not be overturned. He will rule over you. That's the nuance there in Genesis chapter 3 and verse 16. Male headship is not invented in Genesis chapter 3. It is reinforced in Genesis chapter 3. But the clash against male headship is what we see as a product of the fall. There is a third argument, and that is the argument of the confusion. That we have completely and utterly misinterpreted this passage here in Ephesians chapter 5. Because we have forgotten verse 21. If you look with me there in Ephesians chapter 5, look at verse 21. And it reads, submitting to one another out of reverence for Christ.
Ooh.
So here's the argument. And you find this even in just very conservative circles. The argument is that because of verse 21, what we have is the idea of mutual submission between husband and wife. We don't have the idea of male headship, male leadership within the context and confines of the home, but we have the idea of mutual submission of believers to one another. And they just have sort of different roles within this mutual submission, but the submission is mutual. That's the argument, that we've completely mistaken what Paul meant to say because we have not paid close enough attention to verse 21 in our assertion of male headship. First, let me give you my technical theological response, and then we'll look at this exegetically. My technical theological response to that assertion is not. But let's do a little exegetical work here, shall we? Couple of problems. One problem is the verb that is used here. Submitting to one another out of reverence for Christ in verse 21. Wives, submit to your own husbands. Now, that verb there in verse 22 is the verb carried over from verse 21. Basically says wives to husbands. And the verb there is hupotasso. So it's actually a military term. And this military term refers to the voluntary submission of an inferior officer to a superior officer, or to a soldier, or of a soldier to a superior officer. That's what the verb means. It means that you submit to someone because of their rank. You submit to them because of the office that they hold. The problem with the idea of mutual submission is that it doesn't work with this verb. There is no mutual submission in military ranks. The captain does not come to the private and say, "Private, there's some things that I'd really like to discuss with you. I really think we need to take that hill over there, but I know we're called to submit to one another mutually, so I'd really like to discuss with you, Private, whether or not you feel like charging that hill over there as we mutually submit to one another." Private then coming back and saying, "Captain, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you honoring this mutual submission agreement that we have to one another.
Up in his notes?
There's a machine gun up there, and I just really think maybe no." Not the way the military works.
It's not.
How does the military work? Superior officer gives order. Inferior salutes and executes.
We need to talk about that really quickly. It's very important, of course, that you respect one another, but there should not be any type of mutual submission. There shouldn't. There's too many people out here running around, trying to find their pants. I'm just gonna say that much. There's too many people out here running around with the wrong dressings on. I'm gonna say that much. We need to understand that this is a battle. We are in a battle. We are in war, right? We have to understand that the reason that this type of verb is used, right, in the original context. That's why I strongly advise people to look at the Hebrew, to look at the original text when it comes to referencing the Bible as well. When we look at the verbiage, it's coming from a more military standpoint when it comes to submission. Right, rankings. Of course, a private and a captain. Trust me, I just got the Army, so there's no way that a captain is gonna come up to a private and say, "What? Oh, I just want to discuss some plans with you." No. The most thing that they're gonna do is, "Hey, how did you like? How did this go?" Oh, let me talk about that real quick. They're gonna talk about how did this go. They still executed the plan. But then they're going to come back to you and try to say, "Hey, I want to get your input. How did this go? Let's all sit down and talk about this as a family. How did this go? What can I do better?" Right? Understand that, hey, there has to be some type of communication, of course, but do not let that communication fully guide you. Do not let that fully trump who you are, right? Do not fully submit to that. Of course, a godly man is going to be submitting to the word. He knows all about the word, and he has to do his best in order to, express that in the family. But do not let that completely overtake you. You can't let it happen. So that's just the biggest thing. This is a fight. If you want to be my battle buddy, we ain't gonna say that. If you want to be my wife, you gotta fight with me. I'm not talking about argue. I'm talking about you gotta help. You gotta help me. I gotta help you. I gotta make you a better person. If you're in a relationship where the man is not making you better, you're not in the right place. First of all, if you're not in a relationship where the man believes in God and is constantly trying to talk to God more than you, you're not in the right relationship. Number one. I'm sorry to tell you this. It's probably a lot of you guys who are in relationships that aren't like that, and that's okay. That's all right, but not forever. You got to get out of that, because I promise you got to find somebody who really wants to talk to God more than you. Number one. Number two, you got to find a man who, again, wants better for you. Honestly, find a man who is constantly talking about his next goal and constantly trying to express those goals with you. He wants to hear about your day when it comes to how things are going for what you're progressing in. Find you a man like that. And it's trust and believe it's hard, but I'd rather you be alone for 5 years working on you becoming the best woman that you can be, the best godly woman that you can be, than to be out here with these bums. Because there's a lot of them out there. I know I've been pumping up a lot of, men talk here, but I'm gonna keep it a being with you. I'm gonna keep it a $150. There's not a lot of godly men out there. Therefore, there's a lot of bums out there. If you're not a godly man, you're a bum. I'm gonna keep it a being with you. Oh, but I look. You're sad. If you do not have a standard of God, you do not have a standard at all. That's how I view it as. You gotta be that extreme out here. Because there's too many people passing off this man word, and it's pissing me off. I'm a man. Oh, shut up. No, you're not. You're not. You're not. Because if we have an intellectual conversation, I promise you're gonna lose. And I'm not talking about books. I'm not talking about the streets. I'm talking about God. I'm talking about the truth. I'm talking about how are you leading your family? What are you doing? And I'm not talking about even in this world, bro. You think that, just because, I be sending them a check every single week. Yeah, I be sending my baby money in her bank account. What does that money get somebody? Nowhere. In the grand scheme of things, nowhere. If you both aren't spending your money towards God, you're not spending it right. Of course, you want to uphold that. You want to spend your money on bills, on even substances, on like clothes or, food. You want to do all things in the name of God. That's it. The purpose of you paying your bills is so that your kids can live inside of a home and have a good father figure, have a good home to be in, so they can relax and they can be the best godly person they can be. You want to buy food so that you can nourish your body, so you can go back to work, so you can do what you got to do, so you can rest and you can enjoy the world that God has given you. You want to give back to God in everything that you do, even finances and everything, right? But again, you got to look at this as a tactical battle. Is he helping you? Are you helping her? If y'all not helping each other get closer to God and get closer with each other's goals to exonerate God, to spread the gospel and to plant more seeds, you're not doing nothing in a relationship. You're not doing nothing in life. I don't care what you say that you're doing. Let me stop. Yo, what's up, Oni? Oni. Oni.
That's how the military works. It is not mutual submission. And that's the term. The term does not allow for the mutual submission interpretation. There is another problem. The second problem is that this mutual submission clause, supposed mutual submission clause in Ephesians 5:21, does not exist in Colossians 3, does not exist in 1 Peter 3, does not exist in Titus 2. So elsewhere where we have the headship of the husband and the submission of the wife, we do not have this mutual submission clause. So here's what evangelical feminism argues. You don't take all of these texts together and read them the way they normally read in all of their senses. You take this one text that has what appears to be a mutual submission clause, and you then superimpose that clause on your reading of all the other texts. That's the argument. Doesn't work that way hermeneutically in anything else that we do, but in this particular instance, that's what we're supposed to do. There is a third problem, and it's the immediate context, broader context problem. In order for us to understand this, and we're going to get to Ephesians chapter 5 and male headship, but trust me, this is necessary. The third problem is, when you go back to this text and put it in context, Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 21 is the end of a paragraph. I don't know about you, but generally when I start reading something, I go to the beginning of paragraphs, not the end. Maybe you do that. Me, I go to the beginning of the paragraph. So Ephesians chapter 5 verse 21 is the end of a paragraph that begins in Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 15. When we get there, here's what we find. Very interesting. We have 3 commands. On the third command, you get, excuse me. Go to verse 15 with me. Three contrasts. I'm sorry. Like, why is that not what I'm talking about? We get three contrasts. On the third, I'm sorry. Just had a senior moment there. we have three contrasts. On the third contrast, you get three commands. And on the third command, you get three contexts. All right. Look at the beginning of verse 15. Let's look at these three contrasts. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time because the days are evil. So there's a contrast. Not unwise, but wise. The second one, therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. There's the second contrast. First one, not unwise, but wise. The second one, not foolish, but understanding the will of the Lord. Here's the third contrast. Do not get drunk with wine, for that is debauchery, but be filled with the Spirit. There's the third contrast. On the third contrast, you get three commands. Three commands as to how to fill the third contrast. Look at verse 19. First, addressing one another in psalms, hymns, spiritual songs, singing and making melody to the Lord with all your heart. There's the first command. The first command related to what? The third contrast. This is how you live that Spirit-filled life. What's the second command? Giving thanks always and for everything to God the Father in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. There's your second command. Correlated to what? That third contrast. Here's how you do it. This is the Spirit-filled life. And then there's the third command. Submitting to one another out of reverence for Christ. That's the third command as it relates to the contrast of the Spirit-filled life versus drunk with wine. On the third command, you get three contexts. What are they? Wives to husband, 5:24 to the end of the chapter. Children to parents, 6:1 through 4. Slaves to masters, 6:5 through 9. In other words, Ephesians 5:21 is not the umbrella over the rest of Ephesians chapter 5. It's actually the umbrella over Ephesians 5:22 through 6:9. And here's why that's important. Because in all of those relationships, the husband-wife relationship, the verb used there is not a mutual submission verb. In the parent-child relationship, not mutual submission. Children are called to hearken to the voice of their parents. Parents are not called to submit to their children. And in the third one, slaves and masters. Masters are not called to submit to their slaves. Slaves are called to submit to their masters. So in each one of these contexts, submission works in one direction. There is a person who is the head, and there's a person who's called to submit to the one who is the head. Therefore, because of all of these things, the idea that we've misunderstood Paul's teaching here about the husband and his headship in his home is not an acceptable explanation for the text. Instead, what we get is Paul is very clear and unambiguous, and the husband is to exercise headship in his household. Now, here we have the household codes. Whenever you see the household codes, for example, if we go to Colossians chapter 1, or if we go to 1 Peter chapter 3, or if we go to Titus chapter 2, always either right before or right after, you have husband and wife, you have children and parents, and you have slaves and masters. These are household codes. So the first thing we see about a man's leadership in his household is this, that a man's leadership in his household goes to his government of all the affairs of his home. A man's leadership in his household goes to the government of all the affairs in his home. First, yes, there is the idea of a man and his headship and his leadership with his wife. Unfortunately, for many of us, that's sort of where we stop. The whole thing is about who is the man the head of his marriage? Yeah, the man's the head of his marriage, but please don't stop there. The man is also the head of his household as it relates to the training and discipleship of his children, which means men cannot and must not abdicate when it comes to the training and discipleship of their children. Here's the great irony. The great irony is we have men who want to stand up and pound their chest. Yes, the Bible says, I am the head. I am the head of my marriage, so when my wife and I have a disagreement, I have the last word. Hoorah! Good for you. Let me ask you this. Are you the chief and principal discipler of your children? Well, see, when my wife and I, when we're trying to, I'm the boss of her. Have you laid a roadmap for how your children learn to believe the right things in order that they might be transformed by the gospel? Yeah, the Bible says that my wife, she's supposed to, see, that's where we want to end. But the text says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Does this mean that my wife doesn't have a role to play in the discipleship of my children? No. Any more than it means that my wife doesn't have a role to play in any of the other aspects of our family life. But the idea here is that I am to exercise headship when it comes to the discipleship of my children. We have lost this. We have missed this. And let me say a word in particular to those of you who are considering the ministry. There has been an idea in generations past. You take care of God's business and He'll take care of your family. This same idea is the idea that has allowed evangelists to be world-renowned while they spend 3, 4, 5, 6 months at a time away from their families in the name of serving the Lord. This attitude has been the excuse for pastors who devote their lives to taking care of the problems in everyone else's household while they neglect their family, so commonly that we have a phrase called the PK, which refers to these neglected, untrained, undisciplined, undiscipled children who grew up in pastors' households but were not discipled there.
I've just been informed that I was muted. I've just been informed I've been muted. I don't know how long I've been muted. We're gonna we're gonna end it there. We're gonna get it there. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this live. We're gonna do it again here in a little bit. And I'm gonna go back into the edits and I'm gonna add the audio into it. So I'll see you guys later.